I'm Steve,
And I'm Les.
and this is another episode of Sip and Play with Tabletop Tastings. Les, what did we play?
Today, we played Puerto Rico. Now, this game is an absolute classic. It came out in 2002, and this copy that I have is actually the fourth board game that I ever purchased. In Puerto Rico, players assume the roles of colonial governors on the island of Puerto Rico. And the aim of the game is to amass victory points by shipping goods to Europe by constructing buildings. Now, I really like this game because each round there's a new governor, and whoever's governor essentially gets to pick their action first. And when they pick their action first, they get an added little bonus for doing that. And then after everyone's had a turn, it goes around and there's a new governor, and they get to pick their action first with an added bonus for it. And anything not chosen gets money or doubloons put on it, which is the currency in the game, which makes those actions more enticing for other people to choose over the following rounds. And there's really 6 core things that you can do. We've got the settler, and when you choose that, you can add new plantations to your island of Puerto Rico. You can grow corn, indigo, sugar, tobacco, and coffee. And again, whoever chooses that gets the added little bonus of getting a quarry instead. You've got the builder phase, where you can buy buildings to add to your city, and these are worth victory points at the end of the game and also give you added bonuses throughout the game. And whoever chooses that phase gets a $1 discount on buying any buildings. You've got the mayor. And the mayor is so important because your town doesn't work without having people in it. So they can recruit colonists to work in your plantation and operate your buildings. They're essential to succeeding in the game. And whoever chooses that phase gets a bonus colonist for choosing it. Then we've got the craftsman phase. And this is where you produce goods based on the plantations and buildings that you have. And this is really what the heart of the game is, because you're going to make your points from either selling these goods to get money or from shipping them to Europe in order to make victory points. Then you've got the trader phase, and this is where you sell the goods that you've produced for those magical doubloons. And all the goods have different values here. Corn, it's pretty much worthless, but coffee and tobacco, they're worth huge, huge money. And then we've got the captain phase, and this is really how you score victory points above and beyond buying buildings. And you get your points by shipping the goods that you've collected to Europe. Now here, all goods are created equally. So all that corn that you had that was worthless at the trading house is worth just as much points as your coffee and tobacco and more expensive products. So gameplay continues around and around and around until either all the colonists have been used up, all the victory points have been scored, or someone completely fills up their city of Puerto Rico. And that is Puerto Rico. Steve, I love this game. What do you think of it?
It's such a great game. And like you said, like for the time, there was a lot going on compared to something like Monopoly or Life or whatever like that. So it was way ahead of its time. And it is still fun. Like we just played it again, and I love the game. It is so much fun. You are definitely competing with each other, and you're kind of looking over at the other guy's board and going, okay, I think I'm going to do production because I've got more going on, or I want to be a captain and get my stuff out quicker than yours, and I can get more points and all that kind of stuff. So you're definitely competing with each other, but you're also kind of just working on your own thing too, which is so much fun. I always love being able to just do that.
Yeah, timing in this game is so important because each of those different phases have little mini rules to them. Like in the captain phase, when you're loading ships, you know, each ship can only hold one type of good, and whoever chooses that first may be able to block that ship by fully loading it. Somebody else has a ton of corn and they can't put any on because the ship is full already. So it's those decisions. It seems like every decision you make is a good one, and then every decision somebody else makes is like, they've robbed you of something. A game that holds up through the test of time, and I love this. Steve,
100%.
what have you brought to pair with this?
Okay, so this is such a cool game, and it's really kind of a nod to one of the original professions. And it's not what you just thought. Stop, Dirty Minds. It's not that original.
Okay.
So I'm talking about traders getting on ships and sailing around the world to take their goods. And so something that came of that was shipwrecks. And so a way to avoid that shipwreck was to put up lighthouses so that they could light a fire and say, okay, look, there is a coastline here. You don't want to go near it. They're going to help you sail in nice and smoothly. And so this is really a nod to that. So what I have brought, and we're going to enjoy, actually we did enjoy while we were playing the game, is from The Rock,
Ooh,
from Newfoundland, Signal Hill. And so this is really, it's a really nice Canadian whiskey. And again, it's a big nod to being able to set up a lighthouse to make sure that people can safely travel inshore to drop off their goods. And so that's kind of what Signal Hill is. So Signal Hill is an actual place in Newfoundland where they have this awesome fort that they would light the way to have people be able to come in nice and smoothly and not crash into rocks. So they could bring in the corn to make this awesome whiskey. So this whiskey is made from two things. So corn and from barley. And each of them are distilled differently. So the corn is actually distilled in a column still, and the barley is done in a pot still. And then they combine those two things together. So something that's really unique about Canadian whiskey is in the States or even in Scotland, they will take the different mashes and put them together and have them mature that way. In Canada, it's very normal for them to actually take that corn mash, they've distilled it, they put that into a barrel. They take the barley and put that into a barrel. And that it matures that way, and at the end, they blend it together. So they use 3 different barrels to make this. So one is a new white oak, the second is a first run bourbon, so it's been used to make bourbon, and lastly is Canadian whiskey barrels. So those 3 together, blended all nicely together, and it produces this. So one of the things I love about this is the price point, because this in Ontario is under $60, and you get a really good whiskey for that.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, but the flavor to this, so it's kind of sweet, it's got those caramels to it, but it's mild. You know, you use that phrase smooth. It's a nice, I'll call it light, but very enjoyable whiskey just to sip on.
So they're all about communication, and I really love the bottle. I don't know if you've noticed, Les. There's these little dots.
I did not.
Do you know what those are?
That looks like Morse code.
It is Morse code. So in like I'm going to grab my phone because I want to get this right. So in 1901, Signal Hill was the site of communication across the ocean.
No way.
Yeah. So this guy named Marconi set up the first transatlantic wireless transmission, and it started in Signal Hill, Newfoundland, Canada, and went all the way to the UK. And so they were doing like a back and forth, and so he heard on his headset the 3 beeps for the S in Morse code. And so they gave a little nod to that, and they've got the Morse code on there for Signal Hill. Isn't that cool?
Fantastic. So we've got a wonderful game about Puerto Rico where you're trading corn and indigo. We've got a wonderful whiskey here with some lovely corn and other things in it. So Steve, I think we've learned a very valuable lesson today.
I think we have.
And that is, if you're going to play the 3 to 5 player game Puerto Rico, you want to pair it with
Signal Hill, beautiful product right out of Canada, Newfoundland. It's really good.
My name is Les.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Tabletop Tastings.
That it is.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Right, because we're just starting over.
We are, but I think the last colony phase. What took place last, the colony or the build? I think it was the build, actually.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.